Beep. In this video, I'm going to teach you guys one of the best sounds you can use for your buildups, inspired by Maurice Drugs From Amsterdam. As always, if you want to support the channel, make sure to head over to evilsounds.com. You can find all of my sound design work. My sounds are used by some of the greatest producers out there like Hardwell, A-Lock, Umix, Space 92, West End, James Hype. The list goes on. Make sure to check them out. And if you enjoy what you hear, consider supporting. Okay, so I'm going to be using a construction kit from a new pack coming out this Thursday, which is the Sever Diva Edition Volume 2. And it's going to sound like this. Okay, now this little section that I want to create an uplifter for is going to be around 8 bars, and you want to make sure you count yours. For instance, yours might be 16 bars, 32 bars. It just depends what you're trying to do. In order to teach you this technique, we're going to utilize SERUM as it's very visual, but again, you can do this in any synth if you understand the theory behind what we're going to do, so follow along. So the first thing we're going to do is input a MIDI note that's going to be sustained out. From there, usually it will be the root note of whatever track you're working on. So for this one here, it's going to be C sharp. First thing we're going to do is program the shape of the sound. So the sound is going to be utilizing a filter to shape it. A low pass will get rid of all of the highs. This will allow us to create something that sounds like this. The Maurice track, it starts off very slow, but for yours, it might start at a rate that it's already fast, depending on how long you want it. Now for this video, just for purpose sakes, we're going to start slow and just speed it up rather quickly. From there, trip and dot will be turned on that way. I have access to the swingy sort of rates. Okay, so again, here, all the LFO is doing is telling our cutoff to move up, move down. From here, I'm going to grab a mod wheel. Most synths should have mods, and these are great for setting to multiple parameters so that all you have to do is turn one knob and it will create certain changes. So from here, this mod, it will be going on this guy here on the rate, so I can move it. And then from there, you can see this blue outline. That's going to be the modulation amount. From here, you can go fully up or fully down, depending on your end result. So how do you want the synth to sound at the end? Do you want it to sound like, or do you want it to sound? It's up to you to decide. From here, this is where it gets a bit complicated because the Maurice sound itself has another modulation added on top of this one, which is going to be another LFO routed on the cutoff. Now, if you hear the sound, it's like it opens up and then it does ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. So it also has this sort of sawed down modulation happening on the filter. That just means more movement. From here, LFO 3, we're going to do this. And then from there, we're going to choose a rate for it. We're going to trig it. And we can go with maybe 16s or 1/8, and we're going to put this on the cutoff. Now, we don't want this to be so high up, but we want it enough to influence. So we're going to test this out right now. Now, the hard thing about this modulation is it comes and goes. So this is something he probably modulated on top of these modulations we have. Now, one of the cool things we can do with most synths is we can actually have something that activates the modulation. So in SERUM, that's going to be our aux source. Our aux source is going to allow us to say, hey, we don't want this to happen right now, but when we turn this knob, we'll allow it to happen. So I'm going to route this to macro 2, which this is going to be our second LFO. And then we're going to have our first one. Okay. So the second one will activate that. We can even make that faster. From here, I'm starting to shape this a little more on LFO 2, which is the first one. The reason for that is I'm not liking how it's going to sound, but we're going to focus on the sound tone once we have all of this set up. From there, I'm going to put a module on the filter cutoff itself. The main reason for that is as you hear his sound, eventually it opens up all the way and it sort of washes out. And that's another thing we're going to add as well. And finally, we need to add one more modulation to our LFO 3, which is going to be the rate of it. Now, this one's actually going to go from high to low as, again, this rate. will control that. So you have a lot of modulations going on with this. Now, again, as you're seeing this, hopefully what you're learning is how to modulate and how to take control of all these modulations occurring. You can stack on them if you have the idea for it. Okay, so from here, it's time to focus on the sound itself. So we're just gonna put a bit of unison on this. So that way we get 4 saws getting detuned each individually, giving us this sort of... Get rid of the lows, we don't really need them. A little boost on the highs. Some reverb. Okay, now here comes the interesting part. Depending on how you want to go with the pitch bend, this is where you can control it. Most synths will have a bend range somewhere in the synth itself. In SERUM, that's on the bottom left side here. And this, you can tell it how high you want it to go. You can go up 12 semitones, 24 is the max. So from there, let's try maybe staying lenient to around maybe 7, which would be a harmonic, very harmonic full note. Okay, so from there, I want to scope this out now how I want it to pitch up. We're gonna go and add a pitch bend. So by hitting configure here, we can click on all of these guys that we have created and our pitch bend wheel. And then from there, we can control the tone. So we're gonna show automation. Okay, so now it's time to automate some stuff. Now I am gonna add another saw in here just to give us some lows routed into our filter. From here, it's time to automate stuff. Okay, so the first one is our first macro, which is gonna be pretty much the speed of our wow, 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 wow. We're gonna increase that one slowly.
Anything in your mind. You can sneak anything in your mind.
From here, we can activate the second one. Now, as you can hear, this isn't really working for us. So if you run into this issue, there's a couple of solutions to this problem. Number one, you're going to have to go based on more of a squarish modulation. And what that means is that when you do your modulations here on macro 1, you're going to pretty much try and go more of an approach like this, where you're setting more squarish ones. If you don't want to do that because it can get a little time consuming, we can also just get rid of the BPM range here and have this slowly do its thing. Now the second LFO is going to activate that as the wah ba 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 does it. So I can use it in certain parameters like and then from there macro 4, which I believe is going to be the speed of that LFO that is doing the Again, it can get a bit confusing, I understand, so we'll try and keep it simple here. But this guy here is the speed. We're going to start to slow it down as well, which would be start going like so. Okay, cool. From there, we're going to open up the filter as well for this. Now, it seems like I'm going to have to go very different from the Drugs From Amsterdam way because this isn't working as intended. It's making me sound a little too dirty, but we'll see what happens here once we put the filter up. Again, and from there, we're going to add Endless Smile, which is a really dope plugin to do a washout. You can also use the bass clef washout if you have it, which is a free version of this. But this one just has a little bit more of different flavors. But we're going to keep it on the first one, which is literally just the washout itself. From here, I'm just going to elongate this a bit by shifting Command I. This allows for more space, and I'm just going to try and do a longer one and allow this to
I don't even really like party to have a good time, like hang out.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah, I don't do anything unless I need to.
yeah. I mean, I'm the same way.
You can sneak anything in your bag.
It is what it is. Yeah. To me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The whole situation was crazy.
Yeah, I feel uncomfortable. I feel like I can't rock with it.
And that's how you do it, guys. So again, the theory we learned in today's video is modulation is very important, and stacking modulations like Mal P leads to interesting results. Okay, so again, the sound, just in review, we have LFO2, which is going slow and it's increasing in speed. That's the first modulation we added, and it has more of a triangle approach. So it's like, wow, gradual and decreases. And then we have another one added on top of that modulation and in our filter cutoff here, which is doing ta 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 ta. So you have without this second LFO, this number 3 we added, it would just sound wow, 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 wow. But since we added it, it's I think you get it. From there, you learned about bend ranges. You know that every synth has a bend range, and with that, you can control how high up you're going, and you can make it even go higher up if back then you couldn't do it. We learned how to activate LFOs inside of SERUM, and again, that's going to be in the matrix. Putting our macro 2 here as an auxers allows us to tell SERUM, hey, I want this to slowly come in, this modulation. I don't want it to be instant like that. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, make sure to hit like, leave a comment, support my sound mix at evilsounds.com. And if you want to check out my music, you can find it over on Spotify under the Sound World moniker. Other than that, you guys take care and you guys have a great rest of your day.
I am a lyrical madman, a real cheap player. Dubbing wooden bars, smoking guns, feeling higher. Counting down the can, I'm feeling desire.